What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're going to give you a state of the market, and we're going to go over some stock tickers I have for you guys for February 8th, 2022. Now, today was a lot of chop. Again, there's no real big events this week. We have core CPI, which, again, I don't think is really going to impact the market as much, considering we have Powell and Beige Book next week. One thing that is concerning is the Treasury Yields. The 10-year Treasury has been steadily on the incline over the past couple days, being at 1.9. So I think ultimately that could be also a catalyst as to why we're really undefined on what we're doing and no true direction currently right now. And as you can see, even on the SPX, the range we're playing is extremely tight, which, given the market is very confused, the market doesn't know which way we're going. We might play this all the way till next week, till we get that Beige Book, till we get or the FOMC notes, and then when we hear from Powell, we might actually understand where we can go from that point. Again, when you got your leaders like Google and chips starting to sell off, that's a bad sign. It shows weakness in the market. And essentially, a lot of strength today was in DWALK, which is a SPAC. So, the market isn't doing too well when DWALK, a SPAC, is pushing, which actually it came crashing down towards the end of the day. But so the state of the market, it's still in parallel. Like I said, we're going to get a lot of this chop. This is going to happen a lot. So we'll get this back and forth. But ultimately, I'm looking, as long as the market can hold that 4,400, I think we're perfectly fine. It really just depends on that. And even if you look at it technically, we hit off the trend line and it got rejected. Again, first time retesting, you normally get rejected. We actually dropped back below the 20 EMA. We retested that, got rejected. Again, but we want to hold essentially that 4,400 mark. As long as you can hold above the consolidation box, I think we're good. We might actually even possibly chop. It looks like we could possibly chop all the way till next week, and then that would give us a direction to break up or down on this trend. I think is a strong possibility. I think that's what I'm in favor of, is a bunch of chop, and not what I really like, but that's what the market's giving us. It's definitely a day trader's mentality. It's been kind of that way for over probably almost 2 months now. It's been a straight day trader. You can't hold on to anything for very long. So if you do get any profits, it's good to take it. We've only had a couple day continuations, and then we ended up chopping or wicking, and it's just been a really nasty market this whole year. Again, we started off with a big correction, and then since then we've just again been chop, push, or drop and wick, and this has been a very ugly market in general. So as far as the state of the market, again, I think we're waiting until next week. This week, again, I don't believe core CPI. It'll give us some direction, but I don't think it's going to push us enough in one direction or another, unless the numbers come out really good and show deflation in some aspects. I think we might be able to push a little bit on that aspect. But I think it really just it all depends on how the market's going to take it. Again, it doesn't matter how you and I interpret it. The market as a whole will determine how it's going to work out. So nonetheless, we're going day to day. We got to see how it is. This is why I have morning calls, or essentially I do a pre-market kind of call on Twitter. That's what I do every day, every weekday when the market's open, to kind of give you an idea of what my strategy is for the day. But as far as that's the SPY in general, again, I think we're going to revisit this 4,400 before the end of the week. The real key to determine is if this is going to hold or not. I wanted this retest before we even had this massive push up. Again, right into the trend line, retest. If it does retest here, I can see this, if it holds, I could see that being very bullish and make another higher high that's actually going to break out of this trend is what I'm looking for on SPY. Again, I think this whole shenanigans and this tight chop, I think, is going to continue into tomorrow or into next week until we hear something from Powell. We may get an answer, we may not, but it may be just good enough for the market to start moving. Bitcoin in itself, like I talked about, it did really well. Even today, it's really strong, which is good to see. It is gone straight up, though. I am actually looking for a retest on this or some sort of pullback, even on the Fibonacci level. If we get a pullback to the 42 or essentially the 40K mark would be great. I'd give a retest and try to break to the 50 and the 20. I think it's a strong possibility. So don't be too panicked if we do start coming back down. Again, we just broke the wedge. Of course, we're going to get a massive push up because we just broke the wedge. Expect a pullback for us to continue up. Again, that's going to make this run stronger if we break and test all the way up as opposed to just going parallel. We go parallel, you have to understand that what that's going to entail is you're going to have a crash very soon and very quick. So you want it to do pullbacks and retests of supply and demand zones. So being said, tomorrow, I think one of the biggest ones I want to watch is UPST. This one's like kind of hovering. It has earnings next week. One thing I do like about it is every morning it's been having these nice little pops. So it's essentially been holding this 98 mark, and then it pops all the way up to 105. So this is kind of what I'm watching tomorrow. I even have a lower bottom range here. I want to see where we open tomorrow, but watching this play for tomorrow. Again, these are going to be small intraday scalps until the market figures out what it's doing. Ships have been doing really well, but again, kind of in that no man's land. AMD, again, they had a nice little push today. If AMD can hold the 119 mark tomorrow, could be good to get in. But again, as you can see here, even on this chart, you got the weekly and the daily EMAs. They're all tied in here. And so we've just been chopping back and forth between these supports. So you just have to be patient. Sometimes it's better to just not trade at all because of what's going on with the market and to not even invest until the market figures it out. Then once you get clear direction, then go from that point. Airbnb, I think, would be another one. I think some value stocks have been doing very well. Airbnb is another one that's been pumping in the morning and then kind of selling off after that, essentially around noon and towards the rest of the day. So as long as you can hold that 155 mark tomorrow, would actually be a retest of the break. If that looks true, it could be a possible retest of the break here as long as it holds that 155 mark. If it holds there, you can put a tight stop and watch this pop back up in the morning. So a bunch of little smaller ones. Moderna, not so much. Then you got BA, which is one I don't really typically like to play. But it has been showing strength. And ultimately, you want to look at those ones that are showing strength. I think one of the bigger ones I want to watch this week, DWAC. It's been strong the past couple of days, but it got some really bad news at the end of the day and just essentially came crashing down. Disney has earnings on Wednesday. I think if we can come back down and revisit the 133 mark, possibly even the 130 mark, could be good entry points. But I want to see how this does for earnings. Again, we got a couple days. This might be a continuation play. I think a lot of these are more continuation plays waiting throughout the week. CMG has earnings tomorrow night. So I want to see if it holds this tight range tomorrow. Play continuation on this. I know just 2 earnings ago, it actually crushed earnings and had a massive, it was like a 50-point push or 60-point push within the first 2 candles, I believe it was. So it does have great potential, and it's been really hit pretty hard. So kind of looking for that play on Tuesday after the bell. Thursday, I'm looking for a firm. A firm is another big one. Even today, out the gate, it did extremely well. But then the whole market in itself kind of just collapsed on itself. So essentially from 62 up to 69. So had a good 8-point run. Looking for something tomorrow. If it does, see where it's at tomorrow. Again, I think we're going to do some kind of more pulling back tomorrow. The market looks like it wants to sell. We've retested this essentially 67 mark and keep getting rejected. It looks like we actually broke over it, and we tried to hold, but it just gave up. So some key levels for this even tomorrow. And I hope we don't go low, but first key level is essentially the 57 mark. Hold that first bounce. You should get a nice bounce out of that. Possibly retest this 63. If we do break that, break down on that, I'm looking for an entry essentially around that 50 mark going into the rest of the week. That's pretty much what I got. This video is pretty short. Again, during markets like this, you have to understand that there's a lot of different news that comes out. The market's very volatile. It seems like every time we hit top range, we get news that comes out, it drops us back down, and then we hold support, and then the buyers move back in, then we start pushing up, and then more news, and it drops us back down. So there's a lot of manipulation just in general, because there's a lot of unknowns that are just floating around out there. People are throwing out numbers, essentially, I think, scaring the market in general as far as what could be possible, but nothing's actually set in stone yet. So we're getting a lot of back and forth. There's a big battle going on there. So it's just being patient, being mindful, right? These cycles, all this stuff cycles. Once it comes out of this cycle, hopefully we get in a better market where we know true direction, whether that's up or down. That's better to know as long as it keeps continuing in that one direction for a while. It helps improve your accuracy, and it helps define your entry points, entry and exit points, and determine really what is going on with the market right now. Obviously, the market is very confused. It doesn't know what it wants to do. So again, be mindful, be patient, and let's just see what happens tomorrow. Until then, take care, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys next time.